The watch on your wrist just lost 40% of its value. Not because it broke, not because it is old, because the brand that made it spent more money on a stadium billboard than on the movement inside the case. 5 luxury watches are doing exactly that to buyers right now, but 3 others are quietly delivering everything those expensive names promised. And the difference will shock you. Number 5. Tag Heuer Carrera Date Calibre 5. This is the watch that sells you a legend and delivers a compromise. The Carrera name carries real history, from Le Mans to Jack Heuer. It is one of the most iconic chronograph designs ever made. Tag Heuer has spent decades making sure you feel that history every time you look at the price tag. The Carrera Date Calibre 5 sits at roughly $3,600 at retail. For that money, you expect something special inside the case. What you actually get is a Seiko SBGM221, a movement that wholesales for a fraction of the retail premium and is available to dozens of brands at every price point. Tag Heuer relabels it, puts it into a beautifully finished case, and charges you for the crown on the dial, not for what beats beneath it. Authorized dealers routinely discount this watch by 25 to 30% right off the shelf. That discount is not generosity, it is the market correcting for what the movement is actually worth. The Carrera name is real. The Carrera Date Calibre 5 is a marketing exercise wearing its clothes. Number 4 on this list costs even more, and the problems run deeper. Panerai Submersible Marina Militare in 47mm is an impressive object. Carbotech case, 300 meters of water resistance. Panerai's in-house P9010 movement with a 3-day power reserve. On paper, it reads like a serious professional tool watch. On your wrist, it reads like a statement that most people cannot comfortably wear. 47mm. That is the number that ends the conversation for most buyers. Panerai's own commercial strategy eventually acknowledged this. The Luminor Do line exists specifically because the market told them their flagship watches were unwearable for normal wrists. And the resale market has delivered the same verdict, even more harshly. Dealers in widely circulated discussions describe refusing consignments on big submersible references, citing documented value drops of 40 to 60% in the pre-owned market. A watch with those specs should not be sitting unsold. It is sitting unsold because the trend moved, and the size never made sense. Great movement, wrong package, wrong era. The next one is where the real money gets burned. Hublot's Big Bang. Original steel 44mm is one of the most recognized watches on the planet. It is also one of the fastest depreciating luxury watches you can buy at retail. The case engineering is genuinely impressive. The bezel attachment system, the mixed finishing, the visual weight. But open the case back and you find a movement that traces its ancestry directly to the ETA and Valjoux 7750 architecture. At $12,000 to $15,000 at retail, you are not paying for what is inside. You are paying for what Hublot sponsors. FIFA, the Rugby World Cup, Formula 1, celebrity ambassadors. That budget did not come from watchmaking margins. The secondary market reflects this with brutal accuracy. Big Bang Steel models bought at retail regularly resurface 18 months later at $4,000 to $6,000. That is not depreciation. That is the market pricing out the marketing spend you absorbed at the boutique. Unless you are buying pre-owned, where some of that damage is already done, the standard Big Bang Steel is a very expensive lesson in the difference between brand value and watch value. 2 spots left on the avoid list. And one of them carries the most ironic story in modern watchmaking. The Rolex Yacht-Master II, reference 116680, is a 44mm steel regatta chronograph with a programmable countdown bezel, produced by the most coveted watch brand on earth. And it was the one Rolex sports model that sat at authorized dealers without a waiting list. Think about that for a moment. In the era when steel submariners and GMT masters triggered gray market premiums of 30, 40, 60% above retail, the Yacht-Master II sat in the display case available to anyone who walked through the door, Enthusiast communities across Reddit and watch forums have called it the most disliked Rolex in the modern catalog. The dial is busy. The case at 44mm wears large even by sports watch standards. The Regatta complication, a programmable sailboat race timer, is one of the most niche functions ever put into a mainstream luxury piece. Rolex discontinued it in 2024. The secondary market barely reacted. For a discontinued Rolex, that silence tells you everything. Wrong complication, wrong proportions, wrong moment in the catalog. The final watch on the avoid list is the most expensive and the most instructive. The Audemars Piguet Code 1159. Self-winding launched in 2019 as a P's first completely new collection in decades. The brand invested heavily in the case architecture, a genuinely complex multi-layer mid-case design that requires significant machining to produce. The movement is in-house and serious. The retail price on white gold references is in the mid-30,000s of dollars. The market's response on launch day was immediate and merciless. Hundreds of negative comments flooded the first review posts. Critics and collectors called the dial anonymous, the design derivative, the overall impression generic for a brand that produces one of the most iconic watch designs in history. The three-hand time-only version took the worst of it. A watch that should have announced a new chapter for Audemars Piguet read, to many eyes, like an expensive shrug. The aftermarket confirmed the reception. Time-only code 11.59 references in white gold routinely trade 20 to 25% below retail, an almost unheard-of outcome for a halo model from a top 3 haute horlogerie manufacturer. You are not getting a bad watch. You are getting a great brand's least convincing argument, at full flagship pricing. Even legends get this wrong. Now the other side of this conversation. 3 watches. 3 entirely different reasons to pay attention. Starting with number 3, the Tudor Black Bay. 58 39mm, just under 12mm thick, 200 meters of water resistance, and an in-house MT 5402 movement with a 70-hour power reserve and COS chronometer certification. The Black Bay 58 was designed as a deliberate reference to Tudor's 1958 Big Crown Submariner, with compact proportions, gilt-style dial printing, and a bezel insert that evokes the texture and color of a vintage tool watch. The result is a diver that wears like almost nothing else at its price point. Most divers at this spec level have grown to 42 or 43mm. The Black Bay 58 sits at 39mm, with a lug-to-lug that makes it genuinely comfortable on a wide range of wrists. Street price sits around $4,200. You can still buy one near retail without gray market premiums. And it holds value with a stability that most of the watches on the avoid list would envy. This is Rolex DNA, Rolex adjacent quality, and in-house movement engineering for roughly 1/3 of what a steel submariner costs in the current market. The Black Bay 58 does not shout. That is precisely why it belongs on this list. One step further into the overlooked. The Grand Seiko SBGM221 is a mechanical GMT in a 39.5mm case with an ivory dial, blued GMT hand, and a movement that runs for 72 hours on a full wind. The caliber is the 9S66, a fully in-house Grand Seiko automatic with a mean daily rate of +5 to -3 seconds, which is a figure that competes with far more expensive Swiss movements. The case and bracelet are finished using Zaratsu polishing, a hand-applied technique that creates razor-sharp transitions between polished and brushed surfaces that most collectors only encounter on watches costing significantly more. Watch publications and enthusiast communities consistently flag Grand Seiko's dial and case finishing as performing above its price category. For anyone who has spent time inside watch forums or collector communities, the SBGM221 triggers recognition and respect. Outside those circles, it still flies almost completely under the radar. That gap between what it is and what the general market thinks it is exactly what defines a hidden gem. The best hidden gems are the ones that collectors already know about, and the broader market still hasn't caught up to. Number 1, and this one is a genuine upset. The Zenith Chronomaster El Primero, 38mm, is a chronograph with a case that sits at 38mm, 100 meters of water resistance, and a movement that changed the history of watchmaking. The El Primero caliber, introduced in 1969, was one of the first automatic chronograph movements ever produced. Not the first mechanical chronograph, the first automatic. Its column wheel architecture, its integrated construction, and its high beat 36,000 vibrations per hour frequency allow the chronograph to measure time to 1/10 of a second. This is not a movement that was engineered to fill a price bracket. It was engineered to solve a problem no one else had solved at the time. Street price on the Chronomaster 38 runs between $6,000 and $8,000. That puts it in the same spending tier as chronographs using 7750-based calibers with none of the history. It undercuts Rolex Daytona adjacent pricing by a factor that would embarrass any objective comparison. Watch journalists, collectors, and independent reviewers consistently name the El Primero Chronomaster as the chronograph they recommend when no one is trying to sell them anything. At 38mm, it wears with the kind of proportion that a 44mm sports chronograph simply cannot offer. The open-worked dial shows the movement in motion. The lume plots glow. The bracelet finishes cleanly. Everything about it earns its price tag, and then quietly exceeds it. This is what a hidden gem looks like when the history is real. The movement is exceptional, and the market simply has not noticed yet. Like and subscribe for more.